There is a rhythm moving through your life, one that cannot be rushed, forced, or controlled. Welcome to Sacred Fertility Flow. I'm Ashley Holmes, holistic fertility coach and guide, and this is a space where you're invited to return to your body, your intuition, and your divine timing. Together, we explore what it means to become fertile in mind, body, and spirit so that you can move from striving into flow. And today, I'm honored to be joined by Alicia Hurt, a certified doula, holistic wellness coach, author and founder of I See My Baby Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting women and families through culturally grounded, full spectrum care. Alicia is a deeply passionate person who helps women heal, rediscover who they are, and reclaim their voice after infertility, trauma, motherhood, and major life transitions. She's also the creator of the Reclaim and Rise framework, a transformational approach that supports women emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically as they navigate their healing journeys. Through her work, retreats, coaching, and community programs, Alicia is creating spaces where women feel seen, supported, and empowered to rise into the life they were created to live. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation because we're diving into identity, healing, womanhood, and what it truly means to come home to yourself. So welcome to the podcast, Alicia. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I love all that you do and all that, has brought you for us to connect here today. And I would love to know and for you to share with the listeners how you became who you are today through supporting healing and transformation. But who were you previously underneath those roles, expectations, and survival?
I was a woman striving to be a better wife, striving to be a better person professionally, striving to be a better person spiritually. And I was just trying to figure it out like many of us do. So I got married early on at the age of 21. And I was like, all right, so the next thing is to be fruitful and multiply, to have a child. Well, almost 10 years into our marriage, that didn't happen. But I continued on striving in my career, becoming a manager of in the government and great corporations. I got degrees and accolades. I became a minister. But that one thing I couldn't do, it just played with my mind, my body, and my spirit, and how I showed up in all those places. And I really feel like I wasn't being authentic because I was hurting inside, but I couldn't show that on my face. I couldn't show that, while I was other people. So inside it was just like a cancer that forms that you don't know that you have it. But then the symptoms start to reflect in your hair and your, outward appearance and how you walk and your strength, right? And so I had to deal with it. It started to show up and reflect in my relationship with my husband and my employer, and my relationship with God. Because at one point I was angry with him. I was upset. I was mad because he's blessing everyone else. I'm doing work that I say, hey, I'm serving, I'm doing what God has asked me to do. What about me? And so going through that journey ultimately is the reason why I see my baby exist today, because I had to go through something in order to be a true testament and testimony to give back and support into other women and help them understand that they're seen, they're heard, they're loved, and they do not have to go through anything by themselves.
Wow, you touched on so many things there, but something that truly resonated with me that I'm sure so many people feel is this: what's happening internally is not being expressed externally to the outside world when you're going through this most often. And so there isn't that place of transparency, I guess, because oftentimes we're holding that inner world so tight and we're not letting anybody show or see our vulnerability and how much this is affecting us. And so that I think so many people can resonate with. And also, that feeling of anger of why is everybody else being blessed and why am I not when I am serving and I am doing everything humanly possible in order for this to happen, I think is a very, very common root emotion at the heart of infertility and not one that is often spoken to or addressed. And yet it's present and it's there. And so thank you for bringing voice to it today and beginning this conversation there because I know I personally help so many women through that little aspect and piece of it, and it's not so little, it's present and it's there. So let's speak to it, let's acknowledge it, let's witness it, and let's not hold on to it as we move forward. And that will help us and enable us to be able to move forward with a lot more ease. Was there a moment where you realized that you had sort of lost yourself, quote unquote?
When my husband, he's always been vocal, but when he like hit on points and he would say things like, "What is wrong with you? Like, why would you say that?" And I'm like, wait a minute. Why did I say that? Why did I act that way? Having conversations with my mother. She's deceased now, but her gentle way of saying it. We could be riding in the car together, or we could be out to eat, and just those subtle little nuggets that she gave me. And I'm like, okay, let me reflect on it. Let me think about that. Changing employers, that was a big one for me because I never felt fulfilled. I will get to the height, I'll be a manager, supervisor, and I'm like, it's this person, it's this situation. And I remember my husband saying to me, everywhere you go, is this person, is that situation. I'm like, nah, that's not it. And then when I really think about it, I'm like, you know what? He's right. It's me. So what is it that I need to feel be fulfilled? Because clearly it's not the job, right? It's not the job. It's me. So what do I need to do? What do I need to self-reflect on and fix and repair? What moves do I need to make? It's a saying that I say to my kids all the time, like you doing the same things, wanting a different result. You gotta fix
Mhm.
something, and that was the wake-up call for me. And then meeting different people, but them saying similar things. Like I remember one of my supervisors said to me, "You're not happy here." Like, what do you mean? It's like you're not happy here. But what does that mean? Because I'm a manager, I'm managing other managers. Like, what do you mean? I'm making six figures. Like, what do you mean? And then when I had to really sit back and think about it, and I was like, she's right. I'm not. Yeah, I could do
Mhm.
this, but this isn't what God wants me to do. And that's why I feel the way that I do.
Right. It's hard sometimes to look within and to have that truthful and honest reflection of yourself and where you're at. And sometimes it's really hard for us to peel back those layers and to see what is actually beneath the surface. But when we do, there truly is gold there. And
Yes.
then we can stop holding ourselves back and follow our true calling. And sometimes our true calling isn't necessarily what society deems is a traditional role or where we should be putting our energy and our effort. But I truly believe that when you follow your heart and soul and what you know your calling is, in yoga they speak of that's your dharma. And so why resist your dharma? That's what you were brought here to do.
Yeah.
You speak about reclaiming identity after infertility and trauma. I think so many women don't realize how deeply fertility struggles can fracture that relationship with their self. And how do you personally witness that happening in women?
Well,
This
I lived it.
this sense of self that can really be eroded over time. I feel like especially the longer that this goes on.
Yeah, I lived it. I mean, that's the I lived it. I lived it. I think that's the biggest part. It's one thing going to school, getting my degrees, oh, I'm studying psychology and leadership and all these things, right? Christian counseling. But what about that lived experience? Like when you can apply both together, oh my goodness, it's so impactful. And that was one of the reasons why I put my journey in a book. because I said I cannot keep this for myself. Like I need it documented. I need people to understand how I felt. And it took me a few years to write that first book because of how I felt. Like as I'm writing, I'm like, ooh, I'm not healed from that. Ooh, why am I feeling like I'm going right back to day one again? And I pray that the reader feels that as well. But going through it is the true testament and the way to help people understand you're not alone. I'm not going to judge you. It's not what I've learned in the book. It's literally what I felt and what I went through. And so we can relate to one another. And when people
Hmm.
understand that and they see that, they're more apt to say, Alicia, I want to talk to you. I know you gonna
Hmm.
understand this. You know, I feel safe. That's the biggest thing. I feel safe, right? I can take off the blindfolds. I can take off that makeup and that appearance that I'm just showing up with, and I can be my authentic self. And you have to do that part in order to start the healing process. And it hurts. It don't feel good. It's uncomfortable. But that's why I'm here. You know, that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Definitely. I know that writing was very therapeutic for me as well, and it was very healing. And then I finally was like, okay, I feel like I've written everything I need to write about this and this experience so that I can truly serve without still being stuck there or having that still in my energetic body. And it's so important for people to feel safe and to feel seen, and also that you understand them because you've been there too. And that I think really helps them to feel less alone and that you truly do get it, and that any feelings, emotions, thoughts that they have are completely valid.
Yep, I agree. I would say every client that I have, and even if I'm coaching them or just on the spot coaching, I always recommend them writing. Writing, whether it's you trying to think through opening your own business, you overcoming infertility or having a lack of faith or feeling depression, I always go to writing, because
Hmm.
there's a lot of things that go on in our minds and our subconscious mind that we're not even in tune with until we start putting that pen
Yes.
to paper. Until we start
Yes.
this just flooding. And some clients like I don't have time to write, so I say, okay, well then record yourself and just start
Hmm.
talking. Every coach needs a coach, and so I was coached yesterday, and literally my coach said the same thing, and I was like, I tell my people that too, but I needed that. It's like no, when it's quiet, get your quiet time and just start speaking out loud. Just record yourself or write it down and just let it flow. And I'm telling you, you'll be like, whoa, where'd that come from? I didn't know I
Yes.
felt like that. Like it starts to get real, real quick. And then in that process, sometimes you feel uncomfortable and you want to just stop. You're like, nope, gonna stop there. No, push through, push past it, and let it go. If the tears are flowing, just let it fall on the paper and just keep going. Don't worry about punctuation, grammar, just write it out, right? And I,
Yes.
I even let them know that don't be fearful that, hey, this paper, I don't want somebody to see it or hear it. You can burn it afterwards. The whole point is getting it out and having an
Yes.
understanding. We are complex individuals, beings, things that we can't even fathom, things that God hasn't even revealed to us yet about ourselves. But in that writing, it is so refreshing and therapeutic. I'm just telling you, right?
I wholeheartedly agree. And that was something that was introduced to me at the start of my training was, get these thoughts that are up there out of your head, out of your mind, out of your body, so that you're not carrying them into the next day. And it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. You don't have to keep all of these books for years and years and years. I
Yes,
traditionally just
yes,
burn them all at the same time. It's like I don't need to go back to
yes,
that, but I just needed to get it out of my mind and my body.
yes, and release it. I mean, I remember at one point I was pregnant with my son, and my whole body started shutting down. Like I was using a cane. A lot of people like, really? Yeah. Like I was just in constant pain. My knees were hurting me. I didn't know what was going on until I had found out afterwards I had rheumatoid arthritis. But it was so bad. I was holding and harboring so much. At that time, I was supporting my dad, being a caregiver to my mom, right? I was having my son. I was going through relationship concerns. I was going through career concerns. Like within me, I was trying to figure out, well, what the heck is Alicia doing? Like, what is life, you know? And it all reflected in my body. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we ended up taking that leap of faith, moving away, when I ended up quitting my job, when I ended up opening up the nonprofit full fledged, when I tell you I still have the ailment, but I don't use a cane. I haven't used a cane since I've been here, and it's been 3 years now. Like I have moments, yeah, of aches and pains that comes with it, but it's nothing like what I felt. I felt like a old woman, and that's because I was carrying so much, so
Yes.
much. And I remember writing that book, Seasons Are Changing. I didn't even know it was going to be a book. It was a poem. And it was the seasons that I was going through, literally. And now it's like one of my best sellers for children. And they don't even understand where that came from. But that was that pain, that uncertainty, that hurt that I was going through, that turmoil. Just seeing my mom go from 100% health declining in front of my eyes. And I wrote it in that poem and it made it a book. And now everybody's like, that's so good. I'm like, well, it wasn't good when I was going through it. Yeah.
But often, so much can come from our pain that it's never comfortable when we're in it. But,
Yeah.
that's what truly shapes who we are. And it's often not the most glorious and joyful moments that we remember the most. It is those life-changing transformational moments that really make us become who we are and shape who we are. Because I think you touched on something really important there, because I'm sure you felt like my body's betraying me. Like, what's going on here? And so many people feel like that. How did you sort of begin to build that trust back again of, wait a minute, what can I do about this situation to help me not be feeling like this, thinking like this, and able to show up as I desire to.
I had a conversation with my beautician. You guys had some deep conversation while you get your hair done. And I was telling her, I've been going to these different doctors. I'm just in pain. I don't know what to do. They're giving me cortisone shots in my knees, and I can't keep doing this. I'm in my 30s. And she recommended a doctor that was in Rockville. It was almost an hour from where I had lived in Maryland. And I was like, man, I got to go all the way to Rockville. So I went all the way to Rockville and I saw a doctor. And right then and there, when he drew fluid from my knee, he said, this is arthritis. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm not sure what type, but it's definitely arthritis. Go get some blood work done. So I went downstairs to get blood work done. I'm with my cane, just like, oh my God, like this is just a lot. I had just had my son. And I went downstairs and it was an African guy. And I'm assuming it was my temperament. I wasn't disrespectful or anything. I was just exhausted. And so I'm being kind and, just talking, how we do. But he felt it. And I'm so glad that he allowed God to use him. And he said, madam, he said that there's hope. There's hope. He said, you're still here. There's hope. And literally, I took that with me and I have it tattooed on me that there's hope because I don't ever want to forget that. And when I left that office giving blood and I cried in that bathroom, I cried and I sobbed and I was like, man, and I'm feeling it right now telling you the story. I was just like, man, he don't even know me, but he sees me and he feels me, right? And I'm like, there's hope. And I got in that car and I remember driving back home around that highway. And I was talking to my best friend at the time. And we're talking and we're talking. And I'm just driving. And normally I'm speeding because either I'm trying to get to a client, get to an appointment, but I literally was not speeding in the slow lane. And I was just driving. And I looked in my rear view and I could see a car coming from the fourth lane, which is the speeding lane, the fastest lane, to the third lane, to the second lane, to the first lane. And I said to my best friend, he's about to hit me. Oh my God, Jesus, Jesus, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And bam, he ran into me and I ran into the Jersey wall. and I was driving a Santa Fe at the time, nice Santa Fe, but that car note was high. And I kept praying, like, Lord, help me with this Santa Fe. Like, I don't know what I need to do, but help me with this car note. Like, give me some more money, whatever. Well, anyway, needless to say, I could have died because the tractor trailer, right before I hit the Jersey wall, slid past me. It slid past me,
Wow.
slid past me. I mean, just slid past me as I'm seeing him coming to hit me and just slid right past me. And I hit the Jersey wall and I hopped out of the car, no cane or anything. And all I could say was, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And all these people came to rally around me. And they said, we saw the accident. It was not your fault. He was driving crazy all the way in the back. Here's my information. Are you fine? They gave me water. And I just kept saying, Jesus, Jesus. And I looked at that car and I was just like, Lord, thank you. Lord, thank you. And all I could remember is, there's hope. He just told me that. There's hope. Like, okay, God, you had me here for a reason. And I didn't drive for a while. And my husband and my dad would say, like, you got to get back out there. You got to get, I was like, that was traumatic. Like, I don't know. And I ended up and I remember a coach at the time that was coaching me for real estate. And he asked me, how are you? And I was like, you really want to know? Because most times people don't want to know. And he coached me into it. And he was like, every time you get in that car, you keep praying because God has you here for a reason. And you don't allow that situation to deter you because your livelihood you have to drive. And it really coached me into, I was like, okay, so what it pushed me and propelled me into my call and into my passion. And it helped to redirect me because I may be going through things. I may start feeling things, but there's something that I can do. And if it's only
Mhm.
calling on the name of God, listen, it's power in that. It saved my life. It saved my life. And I'm here for a reason. And that's why I give everything my all. Because I'm like, Lord, you could have picked anybody else. You could have took me out in that accident. Oh, and by the way, the car got paid off. Okay. It was a total loss. So I said, okay, thank you, Lord. Be careful what you pray for. Because you just might.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. I think though that so many women can actually carry so much weight with them into wherever they are on their journey, they can let something that happens impact and affect them, and they don't know how to let it go, release it, you know, how to be with it so that it doesn't keep affecting them as they move forward. And so it's really important to have support to be
Yes.
able to navigate because we're all going to have issues, we're all going to have obstacles. None of us is guaranteed a smooth and easy road. And to have that toolbox too for yourself so that when you're in those situations, you don't spiral and you don't keep looping thoughts that you don't wish to. What do you think
Yeah.
people are carrying that nobody sees inside of them? What do you think on this journey most people are carrying that from the outside no one in the world would ever know?
Trauma from past experiences, things that people told you. I remember an aunt, she's deceased now. She would always say, you'll never be a dancer with those two left feet, those knock knees. Look at your little chicken feet, things like that. And she may not have meant anything by it, but I carried that. And so I
Mm.
would not show my ankles or show my feet for years upon years until I was like, wait a minute, this is how God made me. And guess what? I like my little chicken feet. And I mean, my kids will tease me because we have a very playful, light household. But I want them to understand I love my little chicken feet. And guess what? If you don't like it, guess what? Tough, tough. You're going to see them. You're going to see them. But trauma, that thing people have said to you, that they have done to you, the things that you have witnessed that you shouldn't have seen that, were presented to you. Also insecurities, like my little chicken feet, right? Hey, I'm fine. I can still walk. God has blessed me with them. Maybe that's a way for people to have spark conversation with me, for me to be noticeable, right? For them to see the light in me, right? And try to figure out, well, what is that, right? And inquire as such. But what they're walking around with it, they're walking around as hurt little girls and boys, as men and women, unhealed. I was just talking to my husband about that. And a part of it, I think I kind of hit on something with him, but I was like, let me kind of change the topic a little bit. But we are all hurting and healing from something. from
Mm-hmm.
something. I remember talking to one of my exercise buddies, and one of the things that she was healing from was acceptance from her father. And I remember having that same issue, but it took me going on a vacation with my dad and asking those questions, and for him to say, I'm proud of you. I was like, I've been waiting for that for years,
Aw.
years. But I got what I needed. But that was me having the courage. And at the time, I was drinking alcohol. So maybe that helped. I don't know. But thank God I'm, saved from that. But I was able to say, hey, I got the courage. I'm going to ask. How many people do you know walking around that won't ask for that? That won't get that?
Mm-hmm.
They won't get that. And they're still walking around unhealed. They're still walking around with the questions of what if. Why, and then what if the person, God forbid, passes away and it's still unresolved? And so you're still walking around unhealed. You're still walking around with trauma, insecurities. I believe that there are a lot of us that are doing it. And yes, we're kind of normalizing having these discussions, but this surface level. Now we got to get to the deep work. We got to get to the deep work. I truly believe in Jesus and therapy. Okay, I do. So at the end of the day, you have tools before you. Use it. Now there are people that like to just sit in it and just woe is me. That's fine. That's fine. That's you. But you're not gonna steal my joy or my thunder or make me feel any kind of way. And I don't know where that came from, but if that's you and you're allowing someone to do that to you, just know you got to stop it and let them sit in what they sit in, but you got to move forward and you got to heal. Because in order for you to heal and truly walk authentically as the person that you're supposed to be, you got to face it. Face that trauma,
Mm-hmm.
face that insecurity. What is it? Why? Why? Most recently, I have been doing a deeper study into holiness and oneness. And I will wear two chains for many years. I was wearing two gold chains. I wouldn't take it off. One, my mom gave me before she passed away. Another, I just liked the chain. And as I started researching and studying the word, doing more Bible study, and I'm a minister, okay? God started to convict me. And for me to take those two chains off, I was shedding tears. I was like, wait a minute. So what's wrong with you, Alicia? These pieces of gold.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What is that? And I was like, I gotta get past, and I had to pray. I had to talk to my sister in Christ and really figure it out. And to take it off, it was like, oh man. But then it started getting easier. You don't see it on me now. And it's been months and months and months. And I'm like, man, that thing was holding me back. I feel free. Now that's my thing. That's not you. But just using it as an example. So what is that thing that's holding you back? That's suppressing you, that's holding you bondage and taking you away from really walking fully in your calling and what God has for you. And for you to feel like that weight is lifted off your shoulder. What is it? And you got to make it a point. You got to take those baby steps. Take those baby steps. So maybe for me, it could have been one chain, then the next, right? Take those baby steps. What is it? Is it makeup? Is it that it can't, you got to put all this stuff on you to make you, if that's it, baby steps, one step at a time. Start looking in the mirror. Start affirming to yourself, I am beautiful. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And believe it. Believe it
Mm-hmm.
every day. Believe it. Taking those little baby steps. You're not going to be able to do it all at once, but taking those baby steps. Yeah.
I think so many of us think that healing is linear and that we think things will never resurface. And my clients have said to me, oh, I thought I looked at that. I thought, why is this showing up again? I'm like, you've reduced a layer of that, but in yoga, we call it a samskara, and it's still there. There's this mental impression that's still there, but you can, make it so that it's not such a deep groove and such a deep hurt and something that you still hold on to so tightly. You can begin to release it and have peace with it. And so for everybody to find that within themselves is going to serve them moving forward, because you can't extract it from other people. If someone needs to say, you know you need this or this in order to feel complete and whole, is sort of realizing within yourself, I am complete and whole, whether I get that or not. Because some people may
Yes.
not ever have the capacity to give you that, to fill that void, to fill that need, to give that to you. And I know for myself and for some of my clients, It's like, okay, I don't need this externally to be able to be secure in who I am and my path forward and what I want to call into my life and what I want to draw into my life. And so I think sometimes it's hard to be able to get to that place on your own, and support can definitely help you to navigate inner turmoil that you may have.
I agree. I
Because
agree.
I think so many times modern culture sort of avoids healing because we don't want to go there, or we think we're going to be re-traumatized. And I already went through it once. I don't want to go through that again. I know that was me personally, that I was like, no, I don't want to go down that hole again. I've been there. And so I think it's important to know that there are places and spaces that can help support you no matter where you are in your journey.
I agree. And I would say at the end of the day, you have one view, you have one outlook, you have one perspective. And that's why it's good to always either have that one person in your corner or some type of sound leadership or guidance in your life. So whether that's your pastor, whether that's a community leader, a family member, someone that you trust that is doing better. I'm gonna be honest, doing better. And that doesn't mean just financially, but spiritually, like with their walk, with their confidence, with them understanding themselves, because you don't want to go to the wrong person and get the wrong advice that will lead you down a bad road. So being a part of a group, a community, a church, right? That is there for your betterment, that's positive, and that they know you, they get to know you authentically. Because I'm gonna tell you, sometimes you'll walk around, you be like, I'm fixed, I'm healed, like you mentioned, I've gone through that, I don't really want, but then people start to recognize something's going on with you, and you like, well, no, nothing's going on with me, I'm fine, right? But having those people that you trust, and when they say that to you, you say, okay, let me do some self-reflection. What is it? What's triggering me? Like for me, when my mom passed, it's going into the third year, but I would feel some kind of way, and people would say, "Oh, it's so and so birthday, that's why." And I'm like, I don't really believe that until I went through it, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on with me? Oh, it's my mama's birthday coming up. Oh, it's her anniversary. Oh, we normally go to so and so family vacation, right?" So being able to not just being in a cocoon, being by yourself. Yeah, there are moments when you need to be set apart. I mean, we see that in the word, but ultimately it's together, it's togetherness, it's unity to help you so that you're not by yourself. So really figure out, well, what is that group? Is it my exercise group, right? Is it my church? Is it a community group that I'm about? If I'm with a sorority or fraternity, right? Or if it's some type of professional group, whatever, find your group that really helps you to show up and be better. And that will help you. It will help hold you accountable. It will help you to recognize when things are off, when things are not right, right? And to do your work, to do your own self-reflection and your own work. One of the journals, I think it was my first one, is for people that stay in isolation and that feel like, oh, I don't want to be in a group. I don't want to tell nobody my business. Well, I actually did audio snippets for 30 days. And I said, well, if you want to do the work by yourself, that's fine, but you're really not by yourself. I'm with you. And you scan a QR code. And by the end of that 30 days, the purpose and what I pray happens is that you step outside, whether you call me or call someone, hey, I need some support in addition to me trying to figure this out on my own. But everybody needs someone. You do. And if you pray, like, because sometimes you may say, oh, but I don't really have discernment. I've been hurt. I've gone through things. If you pray, you have a prayer life, I'm telling you, God's going to send someone to you. He's going to send someone to you. And you be like, oh my God, like I prayed. Like, I need someone like this in my life. Or I need this group in my life. Or I need this in my life. It's going to come to you, but you got to have a sincere heart and ask. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. I think that is one of the things about infertility is that it can be so lonely and isolating. And if there's no one in your immediate friends or family or even work going through it, you're like, I'm in this by myself. I don't have anybody to talk to about this. No one understands what I'm going through. And it can be very isolating. And then if you're relying solely on your partner, they're in it with you. And so to have support is so monumental. And I mean, you have created a village because it's not just getting pregnant that you really need support. You need support throughout motherhood for every phase and stage. And it's not just initially in the beginning, you know? I don't know what I would do without if I didn't have a village, you know? I've got kids going every direction and I'm going lots of directions. And so you need a village to help support you so that everybody is getting the best of you and the best for themselves too.
Agree. Like you all up in my business, right? Because I have a preteen right now, and I'm like, Lord, send the village. Because I don't have the manual, I don't have the patience or the bandwidth. And men are different. So I'm spazzing out about things, and my husband's like, yeah, okay, all right. Well, and I'm like, you don't get it. Like, so we need a village, every aspect, okay? I thought it was they're not drinking enough milk, or did I change the diaper right? Why do they have a rash? No. In every aspect of parenting, you need support.
Yes, it's so true. And there is no manual for it. I mean, I dove straight in with twins, you know, and so that was a massive learning curve, and there was no manual. And I never felt like I was a good enough mother or that I had enough hands to go around. And by the time the third one came, I was so much more loving and compassionate to myself and realizing I was phenomenal and I didn't need to give myself such a hard time. But yes, support is huge, and any loving, helping hands are always welcome.
Amen to that.
I'd love for listeners to not just hear this conversation intellectually, but also to feel it for themselves. So you mentioned a reflection and release exercise. Can you guide the listeners through that for us today?
Okay, so you can do some breathing. Let's start with a deep breathing because after a long day, you're like, okay, what next? And I'm like this, go, 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 go. So you got to take a moment. You may not remember the technique, just like in labor and delivery. You're like, I hear you, Alicia, with all this 4 in, 7 out, all this. Just breathe. You want to breathe in. So you want to make sure that you center yourself, make sure your feet are flat on the floor, make sure you have your hands just in a comfortable position. You also want to go to your happy place. Where is a place that you're like, listen, the whole house could be burning down, but I am at this place. For me, it's the beach. And it's me literally feeling the sand in my feet. It is me looking out into the ongoing water that's flowing. The waves are crashing in. I'm going to that place right now. Like all the crying, everything is all around me. The house is a mess, but I'm going to that place right now and I'm zoning in. And then I start to
Mhm.
breathe. And I say, breathe. And then don't let that place go. Breathe. So as you take in that first breath through your nose, then you hold it for a few minutes. And I have this video recorded as well for anyone that wants to see it and to practice it. And then I will tell you to release it and like you're blowing out a balloon. The first time it's like, all right, that's fine. But as you do it 3 more times, you start to really feel it. And I tell you, feel it releasing from your toes, feel it releasing from your hands, feel it releasing from your body, right? Just feel it going, and stay in that place, stay in that calm state. And then I ask them and welcome them back once they're ready and they feel relaxed. They feel the tension going away. And then we start our session. And it makes a world of a difference because it makes the
Mhm.
world slow down, your brain slow down, and it makes you be more grounded and mindful in that moment.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like so many times people are like meeting hopping and rushing, and it's like, okay, let's just take a pause. Let's just center ourselves, take a breath, you know, arrive in this moment, and then move from there. And everybody is always just like, Ah, I needed that, right? Just like that conscious breath is such a shift in your state of being internally. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize I was holding on to all of this, perhaps from that day, that week, that month, that year. And you just have that chance and that opportunity to take a breath. And it's such a key differentiator in how the rest of your day will flow, honestly, for every single one of us, just taking that pause. What do you personally feel women feel like you wish they knew more for themselves? What do you feel is like the gap that people are missing when they're on this journey that they're not realizing internally?
One, what's your intent? What's your intention? So, your career, what's your intention? Is it just to say that I've done that to get to the highest height, or is it to truly be fulfilled within yourself? That's one. And that's from personal experience. Because for me, it was get to the highest paying job, get to the highest part of, the company, and I will feel fulfilled. And then you do that and you're like, nope, that's not it. Be
Yeah.
accepted, right? So whether that's dressing a certain way, showing up a certain way, fixing your hair in different ways, like every 2 weeks, every month, it's, you're trying to recreate what is this, who is this, right? To stay in that's not it either. What's the intent? I'm gonna tell you, when I got into my 30s, I was like, okay, I kind of figured this. Now I'm in my 40s, I'm like, oh, I get it. It's what you do for God will last at the end of the day. And is He pleased with you? Because if He's pleased with you, then everything else is going to fall into place. I remember always like, oh, my husband needs to change in this and he needs to do that. And I started praying. And my mom was like, I said, just pray about it. And I'm like, because how are you so just okay with the things just happens around you, your life, my dad, I pray about it. And when I really started to do that, and then God started to change things, and my husband come home and say certain things, or he would just change things. I'd be like, wow. So I didn't have to do all of that. I didn't have to stress myself. I didn't have to be upset and angry and all that, and focus on what matters. What does
Yeah.
God say? Is He pleased with what? Focus on what, even with my kids now. Now I'm going with this preteen stuff. I'm like, I'm taking it to the altar. Because at the end of the day, the yelling, the fussing, the taking away, that is not going to change this individual. Okay? God
Mhm.
has to work and He has to move. What is the intent? What is the intent behind it? And I was just listening to a sermon with Pastor Mitchell, and he has made a bold statement that every day, what you're doing, you're either you're doing it for God or you're doing it for the enemy. Like it's either it's a sin or it's not sin. And I was just like, wait a minute, that's not that plain. And I was like, it actually is. So if I approach it that way, even with myself, the decision I'm making is going to be for my good or not. What's the intent? And I'm telling you, no matter what you apply it to, it will simplify it and it will make it so much easy for your decision making, how you move, how you react. And some things that you think matter, it doesn't matter.
No, I think the older you get, the more you realize how much time you wasted on things that didn't matter, that weren't truly important, and you become laser focused because your energy and your intention that you bring to everything is truly going to create the ripple effect that you are seeking. And so you begin to realize that doesn't matter. I can't control other people. The only thing that I can control is myself and how I show up for me, and then how I can show up for other people. And that is all. And it's sort of that locus of control, too, where you're just focusing internally on what I can control, and all of those other externals, they're there. And I can do my part, and the rest I need to surrender to the universe, and what will be, and can I be okay with whatever is? And so at the end of the day, I feel like that's the ultimate question is, can I be okay with whatever is my fate for this lifetime? And that's a question for every woman to ask themselves.
completely agree with you 100%. And it's like, man, I wish I knew this in my 20s. But then the other part is, would you have listened in your 20s?
Yes. It is learned wisdom, right? I think
It
that
is.
probably for you and for myself, motherhood has taught me so much about healing, and also I have been able to give that to my children, right? And apply that to them in their lives of, you know, things will happen, but how we face what happens to us is really what matters. And what else anybody else says around you, you don't have to take that in. That doesn't have to be your truth. The same as anything coming from the medical field.
Right.
I totally agree that you need to look and take care of all of you, and the
Yes.
medical field can do their part. But we also need to address the whole person, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. All of you deserves to be cared for and treated in the same way and with the same affection that you would desire for anybody else. And I think it all starts from within, and sometimes we need to change the relationship that we have with ourselves in order to have a smoother fertility journey and to have a smoother pregnancy, and then that ripples into motherhood.
Yes, I agree.
Is there any part of your own healing journey that you feel you're still navigating right now?
Let me think about that. That's a good question. I think for me is my health in my healing journey because I set a goal to come off of my medications by the end of 2026. And when I said that at the end of 2025, I did not have in place my strategy, but I knew I was coming off of my medicine. And so it's the first time in my life after doing all kind of herbal like all kind of different programs, weight loss, and I even did the lap band and all of that. And then I getting pregnant after that, then gaining the weight back. But I have been actually going to the gym, attending classes regularly, showing up for myself in ways that I didn't think I had the strength to do. And so for me, I would say that will be a part of my journey now that I'm working on. Like a good example would be this week, I only went once. But then I had to say, Alicia, give yourself grace and know that you did once this week, but you're going to get back to your 3 times a week next week and holding myself accountable. I will always have a friend. I'll be like, all right, we're going to go to the gym together. We're going to get this membership together. All right, you're going to go with me. But I've gotten to the point now is I don't need anybody to motivate me. I'm motivating myself. And I go on
Mhm.
my own. People ask me, how'd you lose this much? Since I moved to Georgia, I lost a total of 60 something pounds. And I'm like, Lord, it's God's help because honestly, food is so good. However, I want to be able to run with my children. There was a time where I couldn't run. There was a time I wouldn't get on a bike. I've been doing that. I've been able to show my kids I can do that. I can do it, right? I was glorifying myself and giving myself props when my child spilled something on the ground and I was able to get down and wipe it up with no problem. I was like, I'll see these knees, right? But it's helping me on my journey. And so, and having a scale that I get on at least once a week to say, okay, Alicia, what are you doing? Because when you ate that cake, it kind of took you back a little bit. So that's the journey that I am intentionally walking through. And maybe I'll write a book once I get to where I need to be. But my goal is to come off of my medications because even though it's helping, it's putting a band-aid on something that I can fix permanently.
I love that you share that with us, and I think that most of us, our healing journey is not finished, is not complete. We're not there. We haven't arrived, and to be able to love and accept ourselves where we are in the moment is key, and to know that you're only where you are in this moment, but you have your whole future to move towards, and there's hope. So thank you for
Yes.
blessing us with that. I love it. Are there any final words or anything you would like to share with us before we close our time here today?
I would say there are so many different resources, so many different books. You know, we can swipe left, swipe right, swipe up, swipe down, and we're overstimulated with information. But at the end of the day, the one thing you have to have is your relationship with God. And I'm telling you, it will help clear the noise, it will help align you with your purpose. And once you truly understand it, you will be on a solid foundation because you won't be going from this thing to that thing. I mean, you will have a laser focus on the journey that you're supposed to walk. If you have that relationship, I'm telling you from experience, I did all kind of different business ventures and tried all different kind of things. But over the last 2 years, I literally focused and I was like, oh my God, this is different because it's so easy to just grab hold of all different kind of concepts and oh, try this and oh, try that. But when I focus in, I'm like, God, I see you. I see you. And then I see how I've changed and how I've evolved and how I feel more settled and feel more
Mhm.
comfortable and confident, not cocky, but confident. Like,
Yeah.
Lord, thank you. Thank you. And nothing can shift me or move me. You can tease me. You can say whatever you want. I know what God feels and how he loves me and how I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So if I'm not your cup of tea, if you don't like it, tough, tough. So at the end of the day, just get focused. Have your own intimate relationship with God and get focused. I'm telling you, it will solve a lot of
I
what we're going through, of what we're carrying. I'm telling you, it will start to shine a light on some things that you be like, oh, I didn't even know that that was there or that existed.
Mhm.
It'll start to work. Mhm.
Thank you. I think that's beautiful to have not scattered energy that's being dispersed everywhere in all sorts of directions because this day and age, it can be going everywhere, all over the place. And it's really time to have less stimulation and more of that focus and relationship with yourself and your connection to God, source, universe, creator, consciousness, whatever that is for you. And to have that rooted within you is just, it does change your relationship with yourself and with everybody else. I absolutely agree. So, for today, my friends, the light in me honors the light in all of you. Namaste. Thank you for being here, Alicia, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.